Um, Honestly, as three girls, we cry a lot together. I think just naturally you start off as colleagues, and then you're also friends, and then now you're business partners. Like, we have to have emotional conversations, and I think very early on into our partnership.
Hey everyone, before we begin this next episode of the Hello Mentor podcast, I just want to say if you're job searching or hiring, check out hiredly.com. We are not just another job platform, we make it easier to find the jobs that people actually want, and we help companies stand out to hire the right talent. So there's a lot of smart tech and there's a lot of human touch. That's Hiredly. So you can head to hiredly.com and give it a go. Hello everyone, it's another episode of the Hello Mentor podcast. We have Doucet with us here today.
Hello.
She's the co-founder of LOOOP. Maybe you introduce yourself and what LOOOP's about.
Sure. My name is Bei. I am a freelance model and content creator, but I'm also a co-founder of LOOOP. LOOOP is a consignment-based secondhand clothing store based in Damansara, Kim. We just turned 3.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's been great to get to do and try so many different things in my day-to-day work, I think.
Right. So you do so many things, right? Sorry, you said you're content creator, you model, and you actually run LOOOP at the same time, right? So how do you balance those 3 things?
With a great team, I think that can't be stated more. We have a great team that helps to keep LOOOP running day to day, and that's such a privilege to be at this place 3 years down the line, because when we first started, we were doing a bit of everything.
Right.
But I think in terms of juggling, it's a lot of just switching to different parts of your brain and blocking time in my calendar. My Google Calendar is my best friend. So everything is in there, and so I know where I need to be, what I need to be doing, and as long as those 2 things are clear, just keep going through whatever you got to go through.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious in terms of like how you grew up and stuff like that. Because just before we started recording off camera, obviously you mentioned that I think your dad's American. You have a French last name, and obviously your mom's a Malaysian, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what was it growing up in this multicultural environment? You were based in Malaysia.
Yeah, born and raised in Malaysia. My mom was very firm on me having to go to Chinese school for primary school, so I speak Mandarin, speak Malay, all of that. But growing up, I was very lucky to grow up in a very creative household.
Right.
My parents were both landscape architects, so creative field as well. Obviously, very different to what I'm doing, but also creative. And growing up, I think I feel very lucky now when I look back that was really encouraged in my childhood. I was really encouraged for me to be creative and for me to pursue creative things outside of school. So even though I went to Chinese school and that was like very disciplined, very strict, I'm sure most people know what the stereotypes are when it comes to Chinese school. But when it came to my home life, my parents were not very strict on grades and that kind of thing, as long as it was clear that I was trying.
Right.
I was quite a curious child, so my parents, I think also being lucky to be an only child as well, had a lot of time to spend with me because they had me quite late in life as well.
Right.
So I was read to a lot, really enjoyed reading, and they sent me to speech and drama classes, and I did piano, and I had art classes. And so these were all things that I enjoyed, that I got to do kind of outside of a more structured and disciplined Chinese school syllabus format. And so I think that gave me quite a good balance growing up, I would say. Now in hindsight, looking back, I think it was a good balance of that discipline and having to, have all this homework and all this syllabus at Chinese school, and at the same time having this like very carefree home life. So
Right.
it's kind of a nice balance.
Right. So when your school is like I suppose that structured environment and discipline train some work ethic.
Yeah, I don't think I would be able to hustle now if not for those experiences
Right.
then,
Right.
because it is quite grueling.
Right.
But yeah.
But it sounds like after school, I guess your after school life was designed to sort of encourage a lot of creativity.
Oh, yeah, I think my parents leaned into my interests. I was never very athletic growing up. I was never very good at mathematics, for example. But I had very clear interests and passions in more so performing arts and creativity and drawing. And so I was I think, gently pushed and supported to go in that direction by my parents, which was a very nice thing to have. Yeah.
Right. I suppose I'm kind of guessing because both of them were landscape architects, is it? So perhaps they have also an appreciation for
Towards
different.
that side of things, yeah.
Right. And did that influence you in any way? Like, do they talk about work?
Oh, for sure. They well, my parents are now split up, so it's been me and my mom for over the past 10 years. But
Right.
my mom is someone I look up to a lot, actually, because I feel she has such a great balance of being both a creative but also being business minded, in the sense that she sees the more realistic side of things, and she also looks at, like, obviously the business side of things, not just, drawing and creating and not really being rooted in reality. And so she always talks about that with me growing up. That was always an open dinner table conversation. She'll share about her clients and different stresses and challenges at work. I think she always shared that with me, and I think now that I'm working as well, I really see how that's benefited me, just in the way I view my work, and I view difficult conversations with clients or feedback and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, my mom goes through that too.
Right.
And then it gives me, I think, some context and the ability to kind of not take things as personally, hopefully.
Right. How young were you when those conversations your mom started?
I think I was just very lucky that my relationship to my mom especially has always been quite an open conversation. So I would consider her one of my closest friends as well.
Right.
So I don't think there was a direct age. It's definitely not like a on purpose businessy conversation, but sometimes just over dinner when we're talking about our days, I think I tell her what's going on in my school life, and she tells me what's going on at work for her, obviously in a language that I can understand depending on the age that I'm at. So that's always been quite interesting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where throughout all these conversations you felt like, I want to do my own thing one day, and
For sure. I think I was quite I can be quite stubborn, or I can have a very specific way of wanting to do things from a young age. And so I did kind of foresee that my future would hopefully look like owning something of my own. But I never really knew what that would look like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you always wanted to own something, but you.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't have, like, I think some people are very clear from very young age, like, I want my own fashion brand, or I want this, or I want that. I think I was I really enjoyed being creative, but I didn't necessarily have like that one singular vision from a young age.
Right.
It was much more exploratory.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you started when it's time to work, quote unquote?
First thing when it was time to work.
Yeah.
I took a very traditional path, actually. I was when I was in uni, every break I had, I was interning, like doing internships at companies. And then when I graduated, I also went straight into a full-time position. So I had a full-time job for a year.
Right.
Before eventually, after that contract ended, then freelancing up until now lah.
Right.
So it was quite a traditional pathway in the beginning. I was working at Riuh in the city. It's a local marketplace.
Right.
For local brands and local performers and all that kind of thing. And I started work there 3 months before the pandemic started. So it was not the best time.
Right.
But I did still get to learn a lot in that experience. I was working in their communications and content team. So I was doing a lot of the online visuals since I have a graphic design background.
Right. So you're doing like graphic design.
Yeah. So that was my first full-time job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so you started doing graphic design.
Yeah, I started actually working the degree that I had. Basically, I didn't jump straight into freelancing, and I think my plan at that point in time, I'm quite a nervous person. So when I was in my last semester of uni, I was already starting to panic about not being able to find a job, because the stereotype I think in Asian society is, you study this kind of creative thing, you don't know if there's job security and whether, it's going to be difficult to find a job. And so I started applying to work really early before I finished uni, and I managed to secure that full-time job before I had graduated, in a way.
Right.
So I finished my last classes, came back home to KL, and then started my job like 2 weeks later.
Right.
So it was all quite instantaneous because I was quite a nervous person. But the good thing about that is obviously having been employed throughout the pandemic lah. But I just always felt like my plan was to work for other people, and that there were skills there that I had to learn from working in a more structured company.
I see.
Before I would have the knowledge to then come out and start a business of my own. That was kind of the
So you've always had
plan that I had for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
And from that kind of like first graphic design role, at what point like did you feel that, I'm gonna do something else now?
I think when I was studying my graphic design degree, I already knew I didn't want to be a graphic designer. I think I knew that from like the first year in, and then it was very much then about like, okay, I'm not like a quitter. I'm not gonna, drop out my degree or like switch. I still think that what I studied was actually communication design. It's slightly more broad than graphic design. They also teach you a little bit on marketing and how to build a brand. So I think that was very necessary foundational knowledge for me to have going into everything else that I've now done.
Right. So within the first year, you could tell.
Within the first year, I could tell. And so in my second and third year of uni, I started to pivot out. So all my electives, I was picking videography, photography, marketing, creative writing. I was trying to go away from just picking design-related electives because I knew that I needed to have then other skills if I wasn't going to, fall back on this main skill set.
Right. Was there a particular moment that sort of made you realize, you know what, this is not going to work for me? I'm not going to like this, or what was it?
What was it? I think everybody as individuals just should have a feel of what they enjoy doing and what they don't enjoy doing. And for me, I think when it came to graphic design, the aspects that I didn't enjoy were, I think that it's a bit more detailed orientated, and I realized that I'm sometimes a little bit more of a big picture person.
Right.
I think I realized that for myself, that I like to come up with, I think, the big concepts and the big ideas, but then when it comes to like really amending a logo in the minuscule for hours on end, like I can get really kind of bored by that, I'm sure. And I think everybody has their skills and where they excel, and I just felt like I wasn't really excelling there. But there were other parts of this creative field that I did really enjoy, so I just leaned into other things that I enjoyed more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about creative work. I'm sure the creative team is in the room with us today. Like they do the work, but the ultimate person that accepts the work is sometimes not a creative person, a business person.
Yes, and so a lot of graphic design comes down to that, right? Communicating to the client, trying to client servicing, like basically understanding what the client wants, trying to achieve that vision. And I think a lot of that back and forth sometimes I felt like was very draining. And then obviously to be like super realistic, it's also down to like what kind of salary you dream about earning. And with graphic design, I just felt like it's either you're really talented and you really make it, but I felt like I wasn't really talented in that area. And so I was open to just growing in other directions, which I think was very important for me to, for me to go and try different things. Because if I had stayed there, then I think life would be very different.
Right. And if I could reverse time a bit, and what made you pick graphic design in the first place? In when you were choosing your degree, so was that when?
Yeah, I think at the point, I always feel that we are made to choose our degrees way too early. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at 17 when I graduated. I was in science stream. I was really good at biology and like physics. And so like, I think I still wanted that security of being in science stream. But then when it came time to really choose what to do in uni, I was like, I don't really want to be a doctor. And looking at the creative field, I think there's a lot of degrees that were they would put you in a box a little bit. So let's say if you study something very niche, you might be stuck with only like a few options for employment afterwards. Whereas I was trying to pick something that was a bit more versatile, that I could maybe bounce from this thing to another thing if this first thing didn't work out. And so that's where I kind of landed on communication design as a degree, because it felt a little bit more broad to be learning things like branding, marketing. These are all things that kind of come into play if you do want to own your own business. And there are things that I think without all of that knowledge, owning Loop now would not be possible. I still do all of Loop's graphic design basically, and website building and all of that. And so I'm thankful that I still do get to use my degree in life now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, but I totally agree. I mean, about how, the way the system works currently is that people have to pick something, and they're going to pick something that they don't really know.
Yeah.
Not so much whether they like it, like whether you like it, whether you're going to excel in it. You don't know until you go into it. And by then, when you're halfway in it, it's kind of, you can't.
And it's so expensive. You don't want to like be wishy-washy about that kind of thing.
Yes. It's not the first time I had this conversation with someone. And I mean, even myself, I actually studied accounting. But, but and it's not meant for me. Let's put it this way. I actually went into the field for a good 7-8 years. And when I was doing it, I remember what made me sort of leave the industry was, I was looking at a lot of my colleagues at the time. I was working in a pretty big firm, right? So there's a lot of very good accountants, auditors there. I looked at all of them and said, these guys could make partner one day. I can see it. Some of them were going to get it to the top, but I can't see myself doing it. But by then, if you've invested like for me, I made the decision very late. But I actually went into the job for a good 8 years or so, right? So it's like good 10 years, right?
Yeah.
But you realize this when you're in education, right? So a lot of
But
people,
I really feel like there's no skill that's not worth learning. I think like if my main takeaway from everything has really just been that every side quest that you go under, and like whether you're working in this for 7 years and you decide to change, like I feel like everything that I've learned from so many different things that sometimes I think there's no way this knowledge is going to be applicable here, but it is. I would love to know accounting knowledge. Like, I
Right.
think that's something that, like, in then owning a business, you understand the finances of your business, for example, so much more, right? So I always think that's really cool to see how people's careers have like changed over
Right.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, you're right. I mean, whether or not it's going to be a long term thing, like no skill is actually, you're not going to waste it,
Yeah.
right? Whatever you've actually
Yeah.
learned. And also, yeah, because I'm also running a company, you're right. That now when I'm speaking to the finance team, they not only do they not spend so much time explaining what's going on, but I actually contribute ideas because I've done the work before, right? So, and same for you, like that design communication background is helping you do what you're doing now. Sure. And so, yeah, so you kind of left it. So, what's the first thing you went into after you left your kind of full time job?
Uh, well, when I was working my full-time job, because it was the pandemic and we were in lockdown, I was working freelance on the side already.
Right.
Because we were working at home from home, right? And so I still had my weekends, I had my before work, after work hours. And honestly, the team I was working with full time at the time, because I was working mainly with content and with social media, there wasn't like fixed timings anyway. Sometimes we would be hosting during the lockdown. There was a lot of the IG live hostings and all that kind of stuff that was happening digitally. And so I was running a lot of that at the time for the company I was working for. And so it was like a lot of working at 9 p.m. At weird odd hours. And so then it meant I also had weird odd hours to do my own work on the side. So I was doing a little bit of modeling work, doing content work from home. I think that's when I kind of started to seriously do modeling work. Seriously do content work. Up till that point, I wasn't really taking on any paid gigs or sponsorship deals. It was more so doing for fun, that kind of thing. But when the pandemic hit and I had so much time at home, that was nice to really start focusing on. And I started to think like maybe I could do this for real.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when my contract eventually ended with my full-time company, I had been working freelance consistently for a year as well at that point, and I tracked the finances obviously to see if making that jump would be feasible for me or not, and it was. So I ended up, when my contract ended, leaving there and fully committing to freelance, which was very scary at the time.
Right. It's a brave decision. Plus, it was like during the
Second year of the pandemic, I
second year pandemic, right?
time freelance.
There's still so much uncertainty,
Uncertainty, yeah.
right? No one knows. And curiously, you also, that's kind of when you started Loop, right?
I
It's
started
pretty close, right?
Yes, we started Loop in 2022. Not so much during the pandemic. I think this was right when things were starting to open up again. So we hit it right at a good time when I think people were ready to start leaving the house.
Right. But it still was quite a bit of a bet, I imagine. Like, what was that? What happened? Like, why Loop? Why this? And why that time?
Why Loop? Why this?
Yeah. Why
I-
exactly that timing?
I started Loop with two other partners, Emma and Adani. Funny story, we all met at that first full-time job I was working.
Really?
And which is why I always say like every experience is important, and I really encourage everybody to work full-time before coming out and like doing something of their own, because the people you meet potentially that have the same passions as you do and have the same kind of vision or hobbies or interests that you do, like you're likely to meet them if you're working a job you enjoy, because the other people working there will probably also enjoy the same things. So I met my Loop business partners there. We all left one by one, kind of shortly after one another. And during that time in the pandemic, we were kind of getting on these weekly kind of virtual calls just to catch up as friends. But then also, we would always come back to brainstorming that the three of us work so well together dynamic wise. Let's come up with something we can run together, because dynamically between the three of us, I run most of the creative and marketing. So I do the design work, the content, all that kind of thing. Adani does a lot of operations, so she does admin, ops. That's where her skill set lies. She keeps our Google Drive tidy and all that. And then Emma is from a legal background. She's no longer practicing as a lawyer, but she does our a lot of our finances, our legal, writing our terms and conditions, all of that. And without the both of them, I would not be able to do LOOP at all.
Right.
And so yeah, having that dynamic, we were just getting on calls basically once a week, brainstorming, and one of us was going through a breakup basically, and had a bunch of clothes that they were like, now I don't know what to do with all of this. I want to, sell it because it reminds me of my ex and all that kind of stuff. And we were just, talking and laughing and brainstorming, and we were saying, there's no resale service in Malaysia for secondhand clothing.
Right.
You can sell clothes yourself on Carousel, but most people like me, for example, or my friends might be like, oh, so lazy to take photos of each piece and upload it, and then you have to deal with postage and this person asking for a discount, all this kind of like back and forth that maybe most people don't want to go through. We also have like very curated vintage stores. Those usually sourced from bales, or they have different curators. But there was nothing that was basically a consignment-based resale service for Malaysians to sell their clothing and for other Malaysians to then come and buy the clothing. This business model exists overseas. That's where I'd seen it in Australia, and we did our research, and we found similar businesses in Europe and the US, and so that's how we kind of had the confidence to say, okay, if this model works elsewhere, it could work here as well. And I really don't know where that confidence came from. Like,
Right.
we were so young. And we were really stubborn about like, we don't want to ask for money from anybody, so we're gonna do this off our savings and open a bank account together and like that whole process, and started like seriously putting money in to be capital. And I think it took us like 3 or 4 months to like go and work a bunch of freelance jobs to try to basically pull together enough money from ourselves to then go and start LOOP.
Right.
So it was very scary. I don't know how we did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty. In fact, I when I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs when they start new things, it's not so much coming from like courage. It's most of the time like you underestimate how difficult it's going to be, and then you kind of go in.
Yeah.
But by the time you go in, you're in it already.
Yeah.
Right. And then you
Sure.
somehow make it work. Right.
That's true. I think you really have to be resourceful to start a business because you hit so many roadblocks. And I think that's something we learned very early on. Like, sometimes things just won't go your way. Like, your landlord will just have a very difficult tenancy contract with you and like won't want to budge on negotiations, or like air conditioners cost 4,000 ringgit per cassette, which like I had no idea about prior to starting a business. So there's so many things that you're just like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah. But we did do a lot of pre-prep, I think, to give ourselves some credit. I think we were very scared, obviously, because it was off our savings as well.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of pre-prep to kind of feel like, okay, this is doable.
Right.
And we really felt like there was a gap in the market for it. We even did like Google Forms to send out to friends and even strangers to basically do a survey of like, would you use this service? Where would you want the shop to be? Like, we tried to do and cover all our bases, I guess, so that we knew we weren't going into this thing like completely blind and with no plan. Yeah.
Right. Are there specific types of fashion that you...
Fashion?
Is it like what? Yeah. So what exactly is in the thrift store actually?
Oh, okay. So basically, because we run on consignment, clothing comes into us from consigners who are your everyday Malaysians. So sometimes we really don't know what we're going to get, because someone who's in their early 20s is going to consign a batch of clothes that's completely different from someone in their mid 40s or mid 50s. And our consigners' ages range from like 18 all the way up to 70 something. And we really do get quite a range. I think for us, in wanting to differentiate from like other secondhand or vintage stores, our curation is really reflected in our consigners. And we have a lot of local brands. We have a lot of cultural wear like baju kurung, cheongsams, kebaya. We get saris sometimes, lengas. Like, it's very interesting because it feels like going through your neighbor's wardrobe like that. Like, you really never know what kind of brands you're gonna get. It's a much more localized context. And I think that's really what we wanted. We didn't see another secondhand store that was like that. And for us, the goal was not so much, I guess, to just be another cool secondhand store. But for us, the big goal and the big dream is really to see more people shop secondhand. There's still quite a big stigma, I think, in Asian communities around shopping secondhand, either because you don't want to wear, dead people's clothing, or secondhand clothing is dirty. Like, there's still this stigma. And so we wanted Loop to be a place where someone who's never shopped secondhand before can come and maybe experience it for the first time and realize like, oh, actually, this is not too bad, like the clothes aren't really that, the clothes aren't dirty. There's comfortable fitting rooms for you to try things on in. Yeah.
Right. I love the concept, but I guess prior to me having this conversation, when you were talking about like, yeah, I agree that there's a problem in like if you have a lot of like old stuff and it's clogging your wardrobe. I had a similar issue, and you're right. Like my wife, like she would sometimes like sell on Carousel and stuff, but it takes so much work. It's a lot of effort, but I need to clear my wardrobe, and I actually don't know what to do. Right, so what I end up doing, I wish I discovered what you're doing sooner, right? So I end up, I don't know, donating it somewhere, but it'd be great if I can, I guess get something from it, right? But how does the process work? So someone turns up with what, like a luggage, and then you go through it, like,
So I'll be super transparent. When we first had the idea of Loop, we wanted it to be like really easy and solves all your problems, and you can walk in anytime and sell your clothes. Within our first week open, we realized that we were very idealistic because one small store of 1,300 square feet cannot serve the entire Klang Valley's
right,
secondhand clothes. Everybody wants to sell their clothes. Everybody wants to make money off of it. Nobody wants to do the actual work or labor that goes into selling the clothes.
right,
And we were very quickly overwhelmed. Like in 1 week, we took in over 2,000 pieces of clothing.
okay,
And that's just on a walk-in basis. And our store can only comfortably fit about 1,200 pieces.
I see,
And so we had to immediately kind of put up a poster to say we're not taking in clothes for the next week so that we could sort all that backlog. And then when we reopened it with appointments.
right,
So you need to make an appointment and then you can bring in your pieces, and there's a limit to how many pieces you can bring in per appointment. So I think in running this first loop, there have been so many changes and tweaks over the 3 years because we're really trying to refine that system and test it. Obviously, the dream is I can have like 10 branches across the Klang Valley and you can be in every state, and then people can walk in because you have enough spaces to support that demand to sell. But as of now, as one store run by like a very small team of 3 people, not possible. And so a lot of our comms goes towards like, kind of apologizing or apologizing for not being able to help more people sell their stock. We do get a lot of frustrated people
right,
angry that they can't secure an appointment, but
right,
the system is as such because of our actual limitations in resources and space. But yeah, the dream is for people to be able to walk in. What it currently is people make an appointment. They bring in up to 15 pieces, of which we'll curate up to 10. Pieces are then priced by us. The consignor receives a pricing list where basically it will list all their items with the prices. They don't need to get back to us if they approve. They can just, read it and good to go. If in 24 hours we don't hear from them, the pieces will go out the following day. And then they're in the store for 8 weeks to sell. They sell for 5 weeks at full price. Week 6 and week 7, if they still haven't sold, they go on 20% off. And then in the final week, they're 50% off. And at the end of the 8 weeks, anything that's unsold, the consignor basically has let us know if they want us to donate it on their behalf or if they want to come and pick it up again. And so that's basically how the system works. Anything that sells during those 8 weeks, the consignor stands to earn 20% or up to 50% of a cut of the sale price.
right,
So it is a long thing to explain,
right,
but we really believe in rehoming clothes with intention.
right,
And I think you can hear in every part of that system, like we can't lose anything that's on the store floor. Everything that belongs to the consignor belongs to the consignor. Nothing belongs to us. And so there is a responsibility there to care for the pieces. We can't lose things. We have to be very transparent and I guess accountable to how we deal with these clothing because they're not owned by us.
right.
So that's the difficult part of the business, I suppose.
Right, right. And it's stuff that you kind of, I guess, you have to start the business to, and then you kind of learn as you go, right? And you
Because it's so new.
Right.
It's so new in Malaysia. And I think it's totally different if we had a bunch of branches, then maybe we can amend how we do the appointments or amend how we do certain things. But yeah, as of now, there's been so many tweaks. In fact, we just did a tweak last week. We used to release our appointment slots 2 weeks at a time, but we just tried releasing 2 months in one go to see how that would go, and it's been good. So that's something that we might continue forward with. But I think that's the tricky thing. It can feel very pressuring as a business to like want to change things because you don't want to confuse your customers
right,
and your audience. But at the same time, like I think it is important to try things in order to find obviously the best working system. Because I think we were talking about this before the interview, but sometimes when you emulate or you look at overseas businesses, like these businesses based in Australia or the UK, you kind of 100% copy paste that back home because localized context is different. Your audience is different. The demographic and how they understand your business is also different. Like consignment as a concept is very mature overseas, but it's so new here. Like we're still having to explain what does consignment mean and all that sort of thing. And so there are these tweaks that we're having to make as we grow.
Right. It sounds like you have on the seller side, sounds like you have a good problem in that, like, people are, the people, you can't take everything, they have to queue, to sell. But how about on the other side? Like, is it easy or difficult to get people to come in and buy stuff?
I would say the demand to sell is like up here, like way up here, and the demand to buy is definitely a lot lower. I think that's just natural because I would say not most, but like maybe half of the people who are selling are not shoppers of secondhand at all. So that's a big problem that we want to try to obviously convert some of these people who don't shop secondhand to try it out. So that's a one part of it.
That is interesting.
But it's been nice to see the kind of people we get shopping in our store.
Right.
I think we often get multi-generations come in together. So we will get granddaughter, mother, grandmother all in our shop shopping together, and they will all find something to buy.
Right.
And I think that's something that we really enjoy, and that's the kind of place that we want to be, that you feel like comfortable and welcome to come with your whole family, to come with all your friends, to put your bag down on the table and really like, treat the space like your home or your living room, so to speak, obviously with respect. But we like when people come in and they just feel very comfortable to try on different styles that maybe they've never tried before. Or yeah, I think that's the kind of environment that we're trying to build in store. And I think the store would not survive or would not still be here without our regulars. Like we have such a great community that really keeps up with new releases weekly and keeps up with our events and comes to our, birthdays every year when we throw a birthday party event.
Oh, no.
So that's something that's been really nice. I think for some people, they feel like they haven't been necessarily represented in maybe the other secondhand store offerings, because they tend to be curated to a very niche style, or, there's just so many different styles, especially for women's fashion.
Right.
And I think it's nice as a store to be able to have a little bit of something for everybody. Like we have stuff that you can wear to your convocation, graduation event. We have stuff for prom. We have stuff for just regular corporate office wear. Just a good mix that I think hopefully, yeah,
Right.
everybody will be able to find something.
Right. And if someone is interested to buy, then does there any of this, like if you have a new, I don't know what's the right word, like a batch coming in, do you announce it online or do you have to walk in to see what's new?
We always say as a business that we prioritize the physical store experience. I think when we first started Loop, there was obviously everybody's like, why wouldn't you do a website? Why don't you want to sell online? Because it's like the era of digital and technology and going in that direction of things. But for us, we really wanted Loop to be a physical experience because we think buying clothes has so much nuance, right? You can see something online, but ultimately how it fits on your body and how it makes you feel is going to be different. And so we do really encourage trying on clothes because we believe in not making a purchase and then regretting it.
Right.
Because that comes down to sustainability as well, right? Like a lot of the clothes that some people try to sell at Loop, it ends up being because they bought a bunch of stuff online, all wrong sizes.
I see.
And then it's wasteful, right? And ends up being dumped at our store and all that kind of thing. So I think big picture wise, we really value that in-store experience. Our team of girls are very well trained to help with styling, help give advice, help pull pieces. Sometimes people come in, they say, I have a Oscars themed company dinner next week. Do you have any outfits? And then the team is always happy to try to suggest and pull pieces. And so we like having that in-store experience. But it's hard not to have a little bit of a digital these days. So we do post on our Instagram stories. People can buy through Instagram, so it's still very rudimentary in that way.
All right.
Through the DMs, message us and we message you. So it's very old school in that way.
Right.
But it's tricky with secondhand because it's one of each piece, right? And sometimes your turnover for pieces can be so fast that by the time you take a photo and you post it on the website, maybe it's sold in store already.
Sure. Right.
And so I think we've looked at that a few different ways. We're not completely against one day having an online store, but as of now, we like the physical experience. And I think one of our main 3 values when we opened Loop, one was sustainability, one was community, and one is joy of discovery. The joy of discovery aspect, I think that really comes with shopping secondhand. There's one of each piece, and sometimes you do feel like, oh, so lucky that this piece was just meant for me and in my perfect size and in something I was looking for. And so that's something that we hope everyone gets to experience when they come into Loop.
Right, I
Yeah.
love that. Like, I've done some thrift shopping myself too. It's pretty big in Japan, right? So I visited there not some time ago, and I was walking through this kind of like secondhand places, and I 100% agree. I think it's part of it is the joy of finding something that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, this is so cool. Like it's you don't know. Obviously someone used to own it. There's a story behind it, but I think you got it. So you got like a really unique item. You got it for a decent price,
Yeah.
like, but it's so
And
it's so
feel like nobody else has this
yes,
piece.
that's right. It's like yeah, that's right.
Meant just for you.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we really love them. Like you just mentioned the stories. Like you don't know who used to own this piece or where where this piece has been before you. And that's something we really wanted to try to capture at Loop. And so consigners can choose to write notes for their pieces. If the pieces they bring in to consign, they have a sentimental memory, they can choose to write a note and we'll tag it along with the price tag so that whoever buys it next can know where this piece, used to be and used to belong to. And we've gotten some really, really cute stories out of that. Somebody brought in a blazer and said, I bought this to wear for my first job interview. I ended up getting the job. I've been working here for 4 years. This
Right.
blazer's ready to find a new home. And then for it to then be picked up and bought by someone going for their first job interview is like a very cute
Wow.
circle, full loop.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's stuff that we really love as well, is being able to like connect these, I guess, stories of different Malaysians and people in our community and the way clothes really do go on if you continue to care for them. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Well, what do you think you would take to sort of, I guess, encourage more people to normalize like thrift shop?
I think there just has to be more options, and that's really all Loop wants to be for people, is to just be another option. I think we have a lot of different kinds of secondhand, thrift, vintage, bundle stores in Malaysia, and everybody serves a different market and a different demographic. And we just felt like there was a gap for this specific part of the market of people who maybe still shop in malls. They shop at Zara, Mango, Love Bonito, that kind of, those kind of brands. Maybe they don't feel like there's a secondhand store that caters to them, and we kind of wanted to have just a little bit of something where you can bring your mom in and you can bring your papa in and bring your sister in and everybody can find something. And I think that's really nice to
Right,
have. Yeah.
right, right. So you have one store now, and you did mention that obviously you're going to focus on making this work and stuff. But do you have plans to like grow this?
Yes. we this morning we just had a meeting. We've been dreaming of a second branch for a while now, and I think this year we will be actively trying to make that happen.
Oh, nice.
So I won't be in KL. We're looking at Penang.
Penang.
What credit here first?
Wow.
Yeah, we're looking at Georgetown.
Oh,
So
why
because
Penang?
we again, like, very nice creative community, and has a great rotation of other vintage stores that we really love shopping at as well, and we love visiting Penang. And yeah, we just felt like it's a nice place to maybe have a slightly bigger store with a little bit more space.
Right.
Our shop in Damansara Kim is tiny.
Right.
And yeah, just to try something different and try a new market in another state. And
Right.
hopefully we can have a third one in KL sometime soon.
Wow.
But yeah, we've been a little, I don't want to use the word stagnant, but I think there's different seasons for everything. And
Right.
for me and my partners, it's hard when you open a business and you're friends and you're also business partners, because no matter what, your personal life, gets involved some way or another. I got married last year, and so like that was a big thing on my plate that I took some time. I wasn't at Loop as often, that kind of thing. And so we've been so happy to watch this first store grow and continue to exist. And I think now after 3 years, we're like, okay, we can start talking about number 2.
Right.
Yeah.
On that note, how do you balance that friendship and like working together?
A lot of honest communication. I think in the early days, like, we really always remind ourselves, like, we're friends too. Like, we have to always come back to we're friends too, because it's very easy to get into a place where you're just talking about work every day and you start to dread it a little bit, and you don't want to feel that way about your own business. And so we always, it's important to hang out as friends as well, and realize that a lot of ideas flow when you're not trying to force them out, so we go out for drinks together. Sometimes we'll start meetings off just by hanging out, and then after an hour, okay, let's start the actual work conversation. And I think like those moments of catching up are really important, so that as partners we stay on the same page. It's almost like a relationship or like a marriage in a way where you don't communicate, you'll have someone drift or whatever. So it's always about coming back together and realizing we're on a team and this is our baby, and like we want to grow our baby then getting back on the same page.
Right. You know, I don't have any co-founders, so everything has like pros and cons, right? So the fact that I don't have any co-founders, on one hand, I guess I can make every decision myself. You know, everything I'm responsible for everything, but also I'm fully empowered. But at the same time, it gets super lonely,
I'm sure. I
right?
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't. But I say super lonely, but I also don't need to sort of like manage another person, right? Because
Answer to any.
answer to anyone, right? Whereas when you have a lot of co-founders, you know, like you are a team, etc. But you somehow have to adjust to everyone a little bit, right?
Yeah, there is there. Of course, I think with any relationship partnership, there's like that compromise.
Yeah,
Which it does have to do if you're a solo founder, I suppose.
yes.
But it's I would say 3 is a very good number if anyone wants to start a business.
Right.
3 is almost better than 2 because you always have someone who makes the final vote.
Oh, okay, right.
It's a tiebreaker in a way, which is a good thing to have sometimes when we can't make a decision. But I think it's also been really helpful that between me and my two partners that we all have our own kind of section of the business. So I do, like I mentioned, like we have our different departments, so to speak. So when it comes to final say, we each get final say in our department, basically.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's a good balance to have. So we're not stepping on each other's toes, performing the same roles within the company.
Right. And you're driving, is it the marketing side?
I'm doing more of the creative, so like anything with the branding or the marketing.
Right.
We do, everything overlaps a little bit, but I think comes down to that final say. And yeah, I'm the one doing the designing lah. Yeah.
Right. So you do that. So you did, I think either before we started recording or the beginning. So you kind of split your time evenly with LOOP and then the other stuff that you're doing, right? Do you ever feel any pressure to kind of pick one path?
For sure. I think I think growing up I was always told to pick one thing. And I really, really didn't like having to pick one thing. I used to feel that more, but now I'm trying to like lean into it's okay to just do what I want to do. Even though sometimes it can overlap and it can get messy, I can feel burnt out. But ultimately, like everything that I'm doing are things that I love doing. And there are obviously times that I pull back from certain things so I can pour more into one aspect. Like let's say if we really have a second branch of Loop this year, I will likely be pouring way more of my energy into that and probably take a back seat on other things like modeling and content. But things also have seasons. So like modeling usually leading up to Riuh is really busy, and then after Riuh is super quiet for a little bit. And so I think I kind of carry my month out in seasons in that way and split the time up like that, where if it's a quieter month for content, I'll pour more into Loop. If it's a quieter month for Loop because our team has sort of got it handled, then I can jury go and do other things.
Right. So you somewhat sort of figured out that rhythm already.
Yeah, kind of. And I'm luckily all these things kind of overlap anyways. All the skills and parts of, I don't know, what it requires from me kind of overlap. Yeah.
Right. How do you stumble on modeling?
I think this is why I say like every decision you make in life, like I really have no regrets. One of my internships when I was in uni, I interned for a interior design company. When I applied for the internship, I was like, I felt kind of silly because obviously I was studying graphic design. I don't have skills in interior design, but I just really looked up to this designer and I really wanted a chance to sort of learn from him. So I applied to work there. My email was like, I would love to work for you, but I don't come from an interior design background. I'm a fast learner. Hope that's like, I try to justify everything. Ended up getting the internship and interned with them for 4 months. But my boss, Adrian, was friends with a lot of other local creatives, fashion designers, people who own their own brands, because he was an interior designer who had all these people as clients. And so from that internship, I really got to meet so many people that I just never would have been able to otherwise. And I think my first modeling job came from just those kind of networks and connections. And one job really just snowballed and led to every other job. And I'm so thankful for that wild ride because I really didn't kind of foresee that coming in my life. But it was one of those things, I think, we always talk about the economy's tough or whatever. And so I think in Malaysia, when you get a job that wants to pay you, you just kind of, let me try this out. And so that's how I felt because I'm very shy. I was very camera shy at that point as well, actually. But I just felt like this is a great opportunity and I would be stupid to say no. And so why not give it a try at least for a year? And if it's something I don't enjoy, I can always stop. But yeah, ended up really growing to enjoy it, and I think it's helped with my confidence as well. Yeah.
Right. Do you have some kind of how do you personally see your role in like fashion and like content? Like when you put out stuff, do you have something in mind?
Mm, I think I try. Well, I think it's obviously changed a lot over the years. Um, yeah. How do I feel about it now? I think right now I'm in a weird relationship with content and with social media where I don't really know if it's something that I enjoy the same way I used to. And content has obviously changed so much. We talked about AI and like all of that before we started the interview. But content has changed so much as well. When I first started really falling in love with content, that was more long form content. So I was doing slightly longer videos, like 2 to 3 minute long videos, that kind of thing. But even 2 to 3 minutes now is so long. It's like people want 20 seconds, 15 seconds. And content now is also very replicatable, where it's, you know, a lot of trends and a lot of like use this trending audio and do this thing or do that thing. And I think at the time that I first started getting into doing content, it was very much about like how original can you be, or like what kind of weird thing can you try or experiment with. And I really enjoyed that form of content. And then I think coming out of the pandemic, things felt kind of different. And so I think I'm still kind of figuring out what that looks like for me moving forward. As of now, the way I treat it is I just really try to play by my own rules.
Right.
I think it's very easy to get swept up into influencer, this whole world of being an influencer, being a KOL, going to events. I think I started off as a behind the scenes person, and so now as my career has progressed, I've obviously been in front of the camera a lot, and now I'm enjoying kind of returning to behind the scenes a little bit where I can.
Right.
Yeah, but I try not to get swept up in it because it's very easy once you start having a following, you start getting big clients approaching you, obviously offering you very big contracts with a lot of payment. And if it is your main bread and butter, it can get very difficult to say no to offers that you might not necessarily like this brand or like the content that they want you to do. And it's very easy to get pushed into a corner where you feel like, but how can I say no to this figure, or like, you know, whatever. And I really tried not to put myself in that corner, which is why I've tried to always make sure that content is not my main source of income, or like my only job. Because then you fall into that trap of like, oh my God, I didn't have enough work this month. I have to take this job that I don't really want to do. And I'm quite a picky person. Like if I really don't like it, I really don't want to do it. And I've always kind of been like that. And so I try not to force myself to do things that I don't want to do. So I think my relationship with my content now is I take jobs that excite me or interest me.
Right.
And I think it's been really nice to now have a few regular clients that, you know, I know that I work with them once or twice a year, and it's always nice to catch up. And yeah, honestly, being a content creator is very much a dream in the sense that you get to create content for yourself.
Right.
And I think when you say no enough times to the things that are not right for you,
Right.
the clients that are right for you will come. That's kind of how I felt in my career.
Right. And then is it based on like the feeling of the brand, that whether it shares same market, target market, or is it like the style of the
I
brand?
think there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it in the more business strategy mindset where, you know, does this brand match my branding? You know, is there synergy there? Is this something that makes sense for my content, for example? Like, just to throw a very random example, like I've gotten a job offer for like mechanical keyboard, which is very not
Oh, right.
something that I would be into. And so like even if they were to offer me, let's say 5 figures,
Right.
I would not say yes to it. And that's something that I try not to skimp on those values
Right.
for myself, because yeah, it can be quite a slippery slope. But then also, I just feel like, what's the vision for the kind of brands that I want to be working with, or what kind of content do I want to be making, and thinking from that, and then saying yes to the right kind of clients,
Right.
I think has been important in that journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it has to be stuff that you genuinely like, that you're okay to represent.
Yeah, stuff you genuinely like, and stuff that makes sense for you and your audience. You also have to think about like what your audience likes as well. I think if you want to get into the business side of things like that, that is one of my considerations at the end of the day, is I do think about like, what does my audience enjoy seeing from me as well. Yeah.
Right. Are there any particular messages that you send out to your audience regularly?
Not really. Well, I used to talk about mental health a lot more. So I do struggle quite a bit with my mental health. I used to be a lot more transparent when I had a smaller following, and I think as my following grew, I'm just so shy that it became scary all over again. And so I kind of pulled back a little bit because I felt like, oh, there's like so much on the internet, and I don't know if the older I get, the more I kind of want to be private again. I don't know. When I was younger, it felt like you can just share anything and everything, and the older I get, I'm like, maybe I should process this for myself first.
Right.
In a few months I can decide if I still want to talk about this or not. But I've become more private, and I think my account has reflected that growth or that change, whether for good or for bad. But I think for me, my relationship with social media now is pretty casual. Like, I'm not going to it to do my main growing or my learning. Like, I'm also listening to podcasts and on Substack and on different platforms for different kinds of content. I think social media for me now is very much just like keeping up with friends, posting stuff I want to post. Try not to take it so seriously while I figure out what my next steps will be.
Right. So I guess you're you're sort of evolving, and you're going through different phases of life and all that.
Which I think you have to let yourself do, especially for someone like me who's like not tied to a company right now. I think it's very easy to like get lost in whatever it is that you're doing. And I used to treat every year like a hustle year. Like every month is a hustle, every week, working 6-7 days a week. And I think that all culminated with like getting married last year. And then after I got married, I was like, oh, I'm so tired actually. Then I feel like I've been running this marathon of like, I need to have enough savings to get married, and then I need to, plan the wedding, and I need to move out, and then I need to do all this, and obviously keep Loop running as well. And um after all of that, I was just like, oh, I'm very tired. And then I'm trying to learn and accept last year and this year at least that like there's really different seasons for different things. And I think I'm in a season of like marinating in this feeling, and also kind of setting up what the next 10 years should look like. Because I think the past 10 years has been like this high school vision of like, okay, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to do this, I'm going to start my own business, I want to do all that. And now that that's kind of happened, I need to take some time to think about what the next 10 years will look like. Because I think I kind of hit a point after the wedding where I felt like, what do I do now? Because you work towards a goal for so long that when you suddenly hit that and you don't know what comes after it, you can feel kind of aimless and floaty. And so that's what I've been navigating this past few months, I guess.
Right. When you're navigating this, obviously you're thinking about setting up a new branch for Loop and all that.
Yeah, and whether like, am I ready for that? Because that with, it's like having another child, I suppose. Not that I have kids, but I suppose when you have another kid, it's your life completely changes all over again, right? Like it's a whole other thing to think about, running that, getting that to a point where it's stable to run without you. Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Right. And if you're sort of like, I'm using my word here, but obviously like pulling slightly back from social media and content, all that, while you kind of figure things out. And sounds like the team at Loop is thinking of setting out a new place, second place, etc. Does that in an indication of where you're leaning to, like just going down this path and less online social media stuff?
Hard to say. I think it's hard to say. I think I'm so lucky that my job allows me to, I guess, pull back and push in at different seasons depending on how much I have to give. I think that's like the big benefit of working obviously in this line of work where things are oftentimes like one project, one campaign, and it's really just like, okay, once this job is done, it's done, and then whether or not I want to take on more work is entirely up to me, so to speak. And so it's a little bit of freedom there, which I think has been nice. But yeah, I the big goal is I'm assuming in 5-10 years that it's just Loop. But at the same time, I do love content. Hard to say about ever like 100% clean stop and disappear from the internet. I don't know yet. Depends what the internet is like in 5 or 10 years, I guess.
Well, but I've always I think marketing has evolved quite a bit. I think it's great to have a personal brand. Then you own some distribution, and when you do stuff, then it's easy to promote it.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Right?
I mean, I guess same with skills. It's never a harm to have a platform.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been incredibly lucky with Loop that I was a content creator, influencer, whatever first. And then obviously that's helped a lot with growing Loop as well and just getting the word out there, especially in the first year. But I'm so glad Loop has kind of grown beyond me a little bit now. We have a audience space that's like separate from my audience space, which is nice. Yeah.
Right. just circling back on Doucet, I think you mentioned just now, it's great to have like 3 co-founders because when you're making decisions, you have someone that, can make the deciding vote, if you like, right? You never tie, right? But apart from that, do you have some kind of framework or different ways you navigate through disagreements?
Honestly, as 3 girls, we cry a lot together. I think just naturally you start off as colleagues, and then you're also friends, and then now you're business partners. Like, we have to have emotional conversations. And I think very early on into our partnership, actually, I should start by saying that the first thing we did when we decided to start Loop was we got a lawyer and we had a formal partnership agreement written. We're quite by the book people, and that was really important to us because I think our friendship is important to us. And so we want it to be very clear in black and white. If this, then what? If this, then what? If one of us wants to leave before we've made back our capital, then what? If like all these different scenarios were explored in our partnership agreement. And I would highly recommend to, I don't know, everyone who wants to start a business, especially if you're younger and you feel like it's not important. Actually, a lot of things come back to our partnership agreement. Like a lot of the big solutions to big actual problems, if there ever was a major disagreement between the 3 of us, comes back to our partnership agreement. But when it comes down to the small things, then I think it really just is your day-to-day conversations. And within the first year of Loop, we've already kind of looked at each other and we're like, we're like siblings now. Or this is like family now, in a way where it's the same with family, where you can fight and you can have disagreements, but then you're still family. You still love each other. You still have this thing together, and you need to work through that. And so we always try to keep that in mind. Not to say there's been any major arguments or anything, but I think that's the values we try to keep when we show up at Loop.
Right. Yeah, and then I can imagine like having co-founders having disagreements going to be pretty common. And I love what you just said about like focusing on that partnership agreement, because in some sense, sometimes when I meet people when they want to start a business with someone else, they don't want to overthink this because they say, no, it's, I'm starting with a friend, I can trust them, But actually, when you start spelling things out and negotiating things up front clearly, you actually protect the relationship.
Yeah, and you realize everybody has different expectations actually when you talk about it. But it's like a prenup for a wedding or a marriage, right?
Right.
You don't want to fight about it after. So let's just like talk about it now when we're all like on great terms.
That's right.
So we met at like a wine bar. We all had a glass of wine with our lawyer.
Yeah.
Like talked about all our terms. It was a very enjoyable afternoon.
Right.
I think like very important part of the business for sure.
Yes. And the best time to negotiate these things when the stakes are low and right. No,
we haven't achieved anything yet.
Yes, upfront, right? And then that conversation also helps you figure out whether you're misaligned or anything in future. Right. Say with marriage, right? So sometimes I find that I always encourage people to know before you get married, like it's good to talk about like even stuff like your child's education, what you do your parents and stuff, because you don't expect, because sometimes you and your partner might have different expectations.
You assume you're on the same page.
Yes.
So then until that thing comes up, yeah, and we never want to fight about something when it's already, the problem is already here.
Yes.
It's at our doorstep, and then now only we want to think about it and fight about it. I think that's a very stressful situation to be in, and so as much as we can, I think that pre-prep is very important to us.
Yeah. So actually, like if you're working with someone, even if you have a very strong relationship, it's like even more so. I think you should kind of,
the more you value the relationship, the more so you should do this.
Yes, have something written up, align your expectations clearly, right? Yeah. So, is there any I don't know, any vision for Loop? Like, how do you see this evolving? I know it started off as like we wanted to solve one of your partner's problems, right? Do you have like a longer term vision for it?
I think the dream is for Loop to exist in like different communities across Malaysia and perhaps even Southeast Asia. We feel that it's a very scalable idea. We would love to see it implemented across different communities, because ultimately like it's just about recirculating clothes, right? That's what the bottom line is, and getting more people to shop secondhand. And a big part of that is accessibility, whether you can be in everybody's neighborhood the way 99 Speed Mart is, for example.
Right.
Everybody can come and shop at Loop because it's convenient, that's the big dream.
Right.
Obviously we'll see how long it takes to get there.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm sure like, coming back to talking about AI and talking about tech, like I think it's impossible for us to scale without some form of tech coming into the business. Like right now, obviously our software and all that is still something we just subscribe to. It's not our own tech, for example, right? But yeah, it'd be so cool to, I think, link up with someone who does software and be able to then build our own back end system for things. Because again, our system relies on tracking so many different things. You're tracking, like, not only do we have this inventory in our store, but like, who does this inventory belong to? We have 500 different active consigners in one store in one time.
Right.
You have to track the earnings. You have to track people's bank account numbers so we can transfer them their earnings, like all these little things. So yeah, I think being in every different neighborhood and then having our own software is like the big dream.
Right. And then speaking of that and AI, I think right now at the point we're recording this moment, because AI is evolving so fast, in the software development world, there's a lot of concern that people are going to lose jobs and all that. But my sense is something different will happen, especially for like digital and tech software, right? Because what the AI will do is that it's going to make that software a lot more accessible to a lot of businesses, like company like yourself, right? Like if you want to digitize Loop one day, like you may not need to like invest a huge amount of money to build something. You know, the AI, along with obviously you need the developer to do it, is going to help you digitize it a lot faster, right?
And I think implementing those things just to make, like I mentioned, like tracking. The problem with secondhand clothes is that you have one of each piece. So tracking inventory is such a big part of the labor that goes into what we do at Loop. And so like, how can technology ease that? I think when we look into scaling really big, like those are the big questions that we're then like, okay, we wanted to have 10 stores. It's not so straightforward as, you know, us coming in and QCing pricing. You need something that's a bit more refined because so many decisions that go into Loop, like curating clothes, for example, it's a very gray area. It's not black and white of like, we will always say yes to this and we will always say no to this. Like there's nuance. And then pricing is also done by our team. So there's also nuance there of like, you know, you want prices to be consistent. You don't want somebody's same H&M t-shirt from two different people, one price at 40, one price at 20. Like you don't want that. You want consistency. And I think with one store, we can manage that manually.
Right.
But obviously when you scale up, you'll probably need a bit of tech support there and a bit of refining in how you keep that quality standard across the board.
Oh, right, because a person decides the price, right? Someone uses their judgment to decide.
Yes, and there's a lot of using judgment
Right.
throughout many of the different processes that happen at Loop because you're deciding, can we sell this piece? Can we not sell this piece? Like talking to the consignor, all of that is human and all of that is like face to face and really community driven. And so there's that human aspect of it. And I think if we grow, it will be about looking at how can we sub out some of this human aspect to maybe a machine or AI so that we can provide a more consistent service across the board, across all the different branches. But that's big dreams. Many years from now, maybe.
Right. I don't feel it's very far actually. As someone that is building a technology company, I think a lot of this is going to be a lot more accessible very soon.
Yeah, I think we definitely need a tech person. So shout out any tech person want to join our team. Because the three of us don't come from tech backgrounds. And I think for us, the tech aspect of it is very scary. And we're like reading up on it a little bit. We've been, I think, as we also, you know, start learning how to do pitches to investors, for example, like that's another big skill when it comes to entrepreneurship that we didn't know or have experience in going into creating Loop. But now that we, you know, have Loop and we have serious dreams for it, we're like, okay, let's learn how to do this. And with that then comes, you know, people always ask, do you guys not, you know, want to build your own software, your own? And so this, you know, third, fourth step is then getting knowledge in this area that all of us are very foreign in. So we're like, that's so scary.
Right.
But yeah. Oh, it'll be interesting to see how that goes in the next.
Right. Are you already starting some of these conversations already?
Very loose conversation, but nothing actually like actionable, executing now. No lah, not yet.
Oh, right. I mean, again, because we're in a tech company, I can see if your business has some kind of traction, it'd be so exciting if you manage to digitize it, right? Yeah. But at the same time, you know, you mentioned about the joy of discovery, right? There's that part too.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see how you can, I guess, reach a nice compromise between the two, because it's hard to like deny that obviously the world is moving in one direction and you obviously don't want to be like one of those businesses that gets left behind or all of that. I really feel like things move so fast now because things that I learned in uni, even now I feel outdated already with certain software, whatever that I learned. So yeah, you really have to keep on top of it, I suppose. That's the challenge of our generation.
Right. And so just that going back and forth a bit, right? Because you did mention that you self-identify as an introvert, and at the same time you're on social media, online, you're creating content. How do you align these two? Because I always kind of I post stuff sometimes, but most of the stuff I post is like writing, like, right? No, but if you're actually posting your sit, like like
Yeah, it's so stressful to be perceived sometimes.
right,
Like to know that people are like watching you. And I don't know. I think I'm more shy in my own life, but when I have to show up for work, I will just force myself to show up. It's like the same way, you can be introverted, but if you have to give a presentation in your office,
right,
you cannot tell your boss, like, boss, I'm shy. Like you can't say that. You just have to perform. And so I think a lot of it is kind of like that. It's like I do love performing art. So part of it is performing, right? It's faking it till you make it a little bit.
Right.
It's but I also know my own limitations. I know my own kind of boundaries of like if I go out and I have a very sociable event night out where I'm like networking, I'm talking to people and all that kind of thing, like I'll try to schedule that my next day is a bit more chill and I can work from home on my laptop so that I can balance out kind of my own energy, because I think that's something that I've realized now I need to take care of,
right,
to not burn out, to not feel like, oh my God, I hate my jobs. Because actually I love my jobs, but when you're tired, you can feel like,
oh yeah,
yeah, something's not right for you or whatever. So I think just understanding myself is a very important part of that process so that I can make sure I don't burn myself out or commit to too many things or say yes to something that actually like I'm not ready or prepared to do.
right,
Yeah.
right. But to that sort of shy or introverted person who is about to make a presentation or something, do you have any techniques you use to kind of like wake your, like, it's showtime.
Yeah, it's really just that it's showtime, I guess. Yeah, I think when you ask like how we started Loop, right? It's really just like have to do, then you do lah, right? Like
Right.
if you've already paid the deposit, you've already secured this lot, you don't know what the next step is. You're gonna have to figure it out, like it or not. And that's kind of how I treat my jobs as well. I think I have a lot of things that I want to achieve and a lot of things that I enjoy. For example, creating videos or editing and all of that. But I can't jump to the conclusion that I want without also having to challenge myself to like get out there or put myself out there or speak up for myself or all these other things that I don't like. I still have to kind of learn to do and adapt to be able to do in order to then do all the things that I really enjoy doing. I think that's how I view it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And somehow I guess you just train yourself to like,
You just have to train yourself and you have to realize, like, I try to remind myself that other people don't care as much as you think they care, right? Like actually everybody's just living their own life and everybody's main character in their own life. You're just a side character appearing for 2 minutes to say something and then they'll forget about it by the time they go home. And yeah, I think it comes back to the perspective of, I guess, like you can either be like, oh, nothing matters, or like really nothing matters. Like don't overthink it and just
yeah, you're right. Actually, like, yeah. Most people are too busy to think about you, right? Everyone's busy thinking about themselves.
yeah. And I think yeah, lah, just understand yourself and understand what you want and don't let, I think, feelings get in the way of you getting what you want. Because I think I'm very sensitive and emotional and shy and all that. But like, I really try to tell myself that if I just stop there, I won't be able to do all the things that I really want to do actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And what the team was sort of researching you and stuff like that. I think one of the stuff that they mentioned was you described your unique personal style over the years as grandma chic.
Yes.
They found that somewhere. How did that aesthetic come to life for you? How did it evolve into this over the years?
I think everything really like comes back to understanding yourself. I say that because I used to be a very awkward and insecure kid or teenager. And I think at that point in time when you don't really know yourself and you don't know like how you want to dress or all these kind of small things that you worry about when you're in high school, then you copy the trends, right? You look at what other people are wearing, what other people are doing, and you try to emulate or copy that. And I realized that I just wasn't comfortable or confident in doing that. I think I was following a lot of the trends of the time that, I don't know, short shorts lah, whatever, crop top lah, all this kind of stuff. And I realized that I felt very uncomfortable in my own skin when I was dressing like that. Like it looks so good and everybody else. But when I just copy paste what everyone else is doing onto myself, it just didn't seem to fit. And so I think after high school, then going to study design, obviously I was surrounded by so many other creative people who were very confident in expressing themselves, and I think I really learned from that, and that in design school you don't have as many people judging you for being weird. For example, if I were to cut this hairstyle in high school, I think everybody would have been like, "B, are you okay? Like, you going through something? Why you cut so short? You know, like long hair, nice what? All this kind of stuff." But in design school, obviously, I had 3 other girls in my year who had a bald head, and so in uni I shaved my head as well because I was like, "Oh, I want to try that," like, and I think it just made me feel a lot more experimental in my style when I was in uni, at least, that I felt like, let me just lean into things that feel comfortable to me. And like eventually I landed on this style that was a bit, I call it grandma chic, because I always feel like I gravitate towards vintage pieces, and I gravitate towards maybe more, not so skin tight silhouettes and stuff like that. And it's funny because sometimes my mom will look at me when I come down from the stairs and she's like, "Huh, you're wearing this? Like, you look like ama," And but then that's what makes me feel the most confident wearing it. And so I think that's when I really have to own, like, it's really not about how other people, I guess, see you, or all of that. It's really what makes you feel the best. Because if I were to then wear, I don't know, skinny jeans and a crop top or whatever, looks good to other people, I would feel uncomfortable. And I think if you're not confident for yourself, it shows in how you act and how you carry yourself and all of that. And if you are comfortable in what you're wearing that day and you feel good in your own skin, that you're more likely to be more confident in going about your day, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
How does someone find that own stuff?
I don't know. Good question. Come to Loop. I would say come to Loop because I think shopping secondhand was a really big part of growing my own personal style. Because when you go into a secondhand shop like Loop, there are so many different styles. There are going to be clothes that you're like, I would never wear that. But I always try to challenge myself to try on things that I wouldn't wear. And I think that comes from obviously being a model as well. Sometimes I'm wearing things or modeling things that I don't necessarily like personally. I wouldn't pick it for myself. But when I put it on, I'm like, oh, actually, this is quite nice. Like, I wouldn't have tried it on, but because I'm here and I'm now wearing it, I'm like, I actually don't mind it. And I think it's just getting out of your own bubble. And I think as humans, we put ourselves into a box of like, oh, I'm this kind of person. And then you never venture out of your box again. Whereas actually, it's fun to go out of a box sometimes and try something. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to commit to this style, but just go and try something on that's outside of what you would normally do. And you might realize that it works for you as well.
Right.
Yeah, because we have just to share a quick story at Loop. We had someone in their, I think, mid-40s, something like that, come to Loop, and she only wears skinny jeans. And so one of our team members, because our team is a bunch of young girls, like age, I don't know, 19 to 24-ish. So they're much younger. They're like, you should try wearing baggy jeans. And this lady was like, huh? Only made me look like fatter, or, made me look like I don't like the shape, all that. But we just pulled a few jeans for her to try on, and she now only wears baggy jeans. She loves it. She's like, so comfortable, I like how it looks. But you really sometimes just need to push yourself out of what feels comfortable in that moment.
Right.
To realize like, oh, actually this suits me also. Like, there's not just like one way to do things.
Right. And Troy, I mean, I grew up in like the streetwear time, those alien workshop and stuff like that. So I always grew up with like very baggy pants. I remember when like skinny jeans were a thing, I absolutely could not do it. Yeah, so even until today, I like really love like really baggy
But
clothes.
that's the interesting thing about fashion, right? Like, it's just a loop. Like, it comes back and then it goes like out of style and it comes back in style. Then, so we always say just hold on to all the pants in your closet. Baggy jeans like come in and out of fashion. Like, so it's very cool. I think Y2K is a big trend.
Oh, now, right? Yeah.
Now, right? But, or in the past few
Or
years.
the past few years, right.
And sometimes we'll have consigners who are in the late 30s, early 40s, who come in to consign their actual Y2K clothes from the actual early 2000s at Loop. And then it gets bought by someone who's like 18 or 19 who's like, wow, it's a Y2K. And then they buy it. But it's like, it's so interesting to see that, yeah, that trend cycle, and to see like clothes being passed on from like generations.
Right. We had like a Y2K theme day in Hialeah one day, and where we asked everyone to dress in Y2K style, and I actually just turned out in my old clothes. But it was quite fun. I said these were actually my clothes.
Already. Yeah, so that's super, like, I think that's the really fun part about like dealing with secondhand clothes, is that it's so cool to see trends just like come back around, and you see like the different inspirations for it's definitely got me more interested in fashion since running Loop.
Right. And if I'm, because obviously you mentioned earlier, like design school, the marketing, I think you're trained to stand out. Like in marketing, for example, there's this concept of like the purple cow they talk about a lot, right? So where like if you're driving along the road and you see a lot of cows, you see a lot of cows, you ignore it. But say if you see a purple cow, you stop for a moment. What's that? Like there's a purple cow, right? And that's the whole idea of like if you want to stand out, like you actually have to look different, and you learn a lot of that in design and marketing. But what would you say is someone, let's say they're working in a more corporate environment, everyone's like kind of expected to fit in somewhat, like not exactly a uniform, but the way you dress and stuff, and they want to find their own style. Like, is there a way they can approach this?
Yeah, for sure. I think even just within like office silhouettes, like, office styles, like office appropriate outfits, there's a lot of room for play just in terms of textures or colors or prints, and just exploring that can also be quite fun. I think a lot of people just go like black, navy blue, gray, and safe colors. But just going out from that safety net a little bit can be quite fun. I think we get a lot of quite interesting corporate wear at Loop where it's like dresses, but with prints or batik, for example. Yeah, I think just try a color. That's what I would say.
Try it, right?
Or even just little accessories. I think we often underestimate how much you can elevate an outfit through accessories. So even if you were just wearing, let's say, a more basic corporate plain black outfit, to just have a little pin. Let's say you really like cats, you have a pin of a cat on your blazer or something. It just adds a little bit of personality that someone might start a conversation with you, or if you're in a meeting, someone will be like, oh, that's cute. Like, where'd you get that? I think it's a nice little piece of individuality to add to your outfit. Yeah.
I have two more questions, quick ones.
Sure.
So, what would you say to a young Malaysian who's graduating soon, and they're just trying to figure out what's the right path for them? How do they kind of find it? I mean, from someone like yourself, you obviously like dabbled in different things, right?
Yeah. So much. I mean, so many different things, but I guess it's not going to come to you if you just sit there and like not do anything. I think it's really important, if you don't know what you want, to just go out and do something. It might not be what you want, but I think through doing things and actually like taking those steps, you will start to figure out what you like and what you don't like. But if you're just like sitting there waiting for something to happen, you don't get to figure that out for yourself. I think that's a really big part of it. And I would also then lead to, even if let's say you take that step and you work for a company that ends up really not being your thing, all skills are transferable. Like, I really come back to that because when I was in primary school, I used to complain to my mom every day for sending me to Chinese school. I used to hate it so much, but speaking Mandarin is such a big bonus in my job now. Speaking Malay is such a big bonus in my job now as well. Just like every language ability, every skill, whether it's something super related or not directly related, has benefited me in every job or skill thing that I need to do now, I guess.
I really love that concept, right? Like, and any skill or experience is never really wasted, right?
And so I really just believe in like, you have to just go and do something and then you'll figure it out. Because if you asked me at 18, 19, had no idea what I wanted to do, but I really feel that it was through doing things that I kind of gauge what I like and what I don't like. My very first job was actually working for a retail consignment-based concept store called Snack Food. They're now based in Bangsa South. But I was working there as a retail sales associate, basically. And it was, without working that retail job, I would not have Loop, because through that job, I realized that I love working retail, actually. I love being behind the cashier and getting to know my customers. And I love that very intimate and personalized in-store experience. And yeah, every single job has led to, I think, the career that I have now. And so I'm incredibly grateful to my past employers and all my past clients, because I've learned something from everything, truly.
Right. Last question. So if you could go back in time and kind of speak to yourself, right? Or let's say give yourself a note. But this is the you before you pick that degree in design and communication.
Communication design.
That's right. What would you say to her?
Oh, I would honestly say to try more things. because I think even though like it sounds like, well, I've done so many of these like things or side quests or whatever, I still feel like I held myself back a lot because I was scared or I was nervous. And if I could, I would have just done more. Like I think have even more audacity to just like ask for the internship even if I'm not qualified, or like try putting myself out there even more than maybe I did, you know, because I even now posting content, I still post in like a shy way, you know, but what if I just was more bold with going for the things that I really wanted? So yeah, I think I'm still trying to implement that now as well, even at this age.
Yes. Be brave.
Yeah, be
Right.
brave.
Be brave.
Don't let your insecurity stop you.
Right. Because you never know, right?
You never know. You really never know. And I think one big takeaway also that I think was really beneficial that I learned from modeling is that how you see yourself is not how other people see you. Because I never really felt very commercially pretty, not to like go into this whole thing, but like, you know, people ask you like what side, your face, what angle, you know, and I'm like, I don't know. But to not like a certain photo of yourself and to hear like a whole team of photographer, creative director, you know, whatever, be like, this is the best photo.
Right.
I think it really makes you realize that sometimes you're just in your head about things. Like it's you know, you see like, oh, I got pimple there and I got this, or I'm not confident about this. But to someone else, they might view you entirely differently. So you really just cannot let how you feel about yourself be your only judgment point, I think. You need to like have good people to bounce off with as well.
I know a lot of people who should hear that advice. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bae, for being here, sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and I will personally be checking out Loop soon. It's
Cool.
really exciting to hear what you are doing there, and hopefully more people will go visit the place.
Yeah, for sure. Like very, very nearby you guys' office. So that's super, super easy for you.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for hanging out with us and getting to the end of the episode. If you like this, follow us or hit the subscribe button. It will help us bring on more amazing guests and makes the whole show better for you. So thanks again and see you in the next one.